Hello and welcome to another Let's Build It guide. Today we're going to be looking at Mag Prime and her synergies with the Coda Sporothrix. The Coda Sporothrix just released with the techrot encore update and it's proving to be a nice buff for Mag. So as far as the Mag layer herself, I'm going to be showing two builds for both. I've got a strength shard, two energy max shards, and two casting speed shards. None of these are really required. The energy is nice and the strength is nice, and the casting speed is really just to taste. This is a breach surge build. This will be the stronger of the two builds, but it's not as good at the higher levels. We've got growing power as our aura. We've got prime sure footed because falling down is bad. Prime flow for our energy economy. Prime continuity for the duration, strength and augur reach, stretch and augur reach for range, rolling guard for the nice cleanse, umbral intensify for the strength, and we have magnetized discharge for the able to blow up our 3 at will, our fracturing crush for the armor strip. With this build it does reach 100% armor strip. We use Mole Augmented to get to 209% power strength at full stacks, which is very beneficial to our explosions and our crush, etc. And we've got Arcane Energize for the energy economy because breach surge builds tend to be quite energy inefficient. This is the Coda Sporothrix build that we're looking at. It's 2 forma, so it's not a lot. We've got Rhyme Rounds and we have a Riven. This Riven is purely just here for Toxin. You probably at the moment, because it's at a dispo of 1, get better usage out of Malignant Force. Malignant Force will give you more status chance. This Riven is just damage, tox and multi-shot. But the two results from both versions of the build completely comparable right now, simply because the Riven hasn't had enough time in the oven. As in, it's not been out long enough for the weapon to have a high enough dispo. We use Vial Acceleration for fire rate, and we've got Rifle Elementalist for extra status damage. Instead of Rifle Elementalist, you can use Magnetic Capacity for extra ammo and more status damage. We've got Radiated Reload, because the reload speed is needed. Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. Galvanized Aptitude stacks up really nice with the amount of status that you use on this weapon. Volatile Variant is the augment mod for this that was available through Nightwave. It's quite expensive right now. We have Terminal Velocity for the extra speed, and we use Primary Merciless as our arcane. You can use Deadhead, but because I'm a console player it just sort of doesn't work out for me. Frostbite and Blight are also perfectly viable options if you reconfigure the way the build is done. The progenitor on the weapon is electricity, which is why Elementalist fits in this mod, this build. So what you really need to do with this weapon is you do need to stack up the aptitude and get a galvanized chamber. So it can take a minute. So now it should probably start doing, yeah, it starts clearing rows eventually. And this is just the weapon on its own. It is much better when you start using it in tandem with Mag's abilities, but this is what the weapon can do on its own, which is fairly okay for something that's not high on crit chance. So we're going to crush, we're going to breach surge, and we're going to bubble in that order because breach surge plus crush would kill all these enemies anyway. And all those enemies are decimated just by the Sporothrix. And I don't even get the chance to run back to them. They all just die from the Bubbles Sporothrix damage. So it's really easy to hit into the millions with that build. The highest I've hit is almost 300 million. I'll try and find a screenshot for that. So for the next build, which is going to be a viral setup with Nourish instead of Breach Surge, let me just put some extra mods on. You can use Vigilante supplies. It's probably better just for ammo economy and the one-off crits that you do get. The only difference between the two builds is that Rime rounds now get swapped out for Thermite rounds to run gas. Because now that we're going to be using Nourish on Mag, the viral is no longer needed. And this is the second build. The only real changes on this build is Energy Nexus is used instead of Primed Flow because Energy Nexus is benefited by Nourish. And Arcane Aegis gets swapped with Arcane Energize. This just helps the overall survivability of the frame. And we will be using the Panzerwelpe as a companion. This is set to be doing impact and electricity damage, and has magnetic strike, so that anytime impact hits, magnetic also hits, which is good for targets with heavy armor, or overguard rather. And we get extra viral just to make sure it's proccing from vibro quills. So we proc our Nourish, pop our 3, pop our 2. Now this build does not hit as hard as the Breach Surge build because nothing's going to do that, because Breach Surge in itself is a stupidly high multiplying damage build. But this tends to be more survivable, better for keeping overguard. Over shields rather, and you typically aren't as squishy with this build. But this is when you're talking higher level content, like really high level, because of all these utility mods, Mag isn't nearly as squishy as she used to be. And with this Sporothrix, it becomes a very nice tool, twosome. You can combine this with things like the dual Ichor and Carnon, which I've already done a video on, and basically be untouchable. But that's been Mag Prime with 2 builds and the Coda Sporothrix. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.